All right, so just had promised you earlier on a few minutes ago, it is that to a topic of the week, it is about the implementation of the junior secondary schools. And tonight, our focus is Nandi County and how JSS is faring on there. Just look at other regions and the staff shortage. We're also talking about lack of infrastructure such as laboratories have affected learning, especially in public schools. Elvis Koskei with that story.
At SEK St. Luke's Bidbiried Chesumei constituency in the county of Nandi, lack of laboratories, lack of staff and resources to expand facilities has affected the implementation of the junior secondary school program in the school. According to the school administration, the idea of competency-based curriculum system is good, but its implementation has not been effective owing to the challenges they have encountered.
Wanafunzi tuliowapokea ni wengi mno, lakini ukiangalia katika madarasa yetu si makubwa ya kumilika watoto wote jinsi ambavyo mnaona. Nafikiri mmekuwa katika madarasa mmechuonea. So si serikali tafadhali iingilie kati kwa haraka.
The major problem is the issue of textbooks and the number of the teachers that we really have as far as JSS is concerned. So what we really hope is the government to address is the issue of giving us a very good circular on how this CBC program keeps on changing.
Science textbooks, theory textbooks, which are supposed to have been used in teaching the learners. So we are actually urging the government to distribute those books in time to allow learners to use them at the right time.
Amid confusion, teachers here confess that the syllabus is complicated unless the government takes drastic measures to address challenges at JSS.
Set to continue with a certain program, then another circular changed their mind, which at the end of the day, this learner will not be set to learn at the moment because he or she is not aware of what changes are coming. We started with 14 learning areas, and those learners are around 10, 11 years and that. So learning 14 subjects in a day is a great challenge.
So a motivated teacher means good results. But when a teacher is demotivated, then the results will go down.
To do some subjects like integrated science, home science and computer science without the labs. And I'd like to encourage the government to build more classrooms because our school is a school that is blessed with a lot of students. So it's quite difficult to learn. I think it's an unhealthy environment for a learner to use.
This comes as JSS teachers drawn from the North region protested the move by the government to renew their contracts.
Hakuna laboratory, hakuna libraries, computer iko pale, hakuna computer unafaa kufunza watoto, unawafunza ukiwaambia two parts of the computer and they don't know. In fact, in rural areas it's even more worse. Hakuna stima. In every place, when you open the JSS, the content of the JSS, in every place they tell you, using a digital device. Now, using a digital device, there's no Wi-Fi in those schools. When you talk to the HOI to even buy for you, even bundles, because 17,000 cannot buy for us bundles. So you talk to them, they just tell you, you teach. Teach and go. So you want us to teach and go, but the mwanafunzi yule ndiye anaumia.
So we are not going back to those schools without the PNP letters. Let them confirm us. Even when they will pay us in the next 6 months, we are ready. We are tired. Even 1 year, we are not going back to those Shakaola schools. We are not going back there without the PNP letters. We are tired.
Being domiciled at primary schools, there is need to build more classrooms, laboratories, libraries, among other facilities to accommodate the CBC effective programs. It now remains to be seen which way JSS as public schools grapple with deplorable infrastructure. Elvis Koskei, KT News, Nandi County.
All right, so just trying to have a conversation with one of the JSS teachers that we're privileged to have in our studio tonight here on a KTN News Hour, and I'm talking about Olive Wamachari, who's the Deputy Chairperson of the JSS Intern Teachers nationally. And of course, I'm also with brilliant minds. I'm talking about Professor Humphrey Obora, the CEO of World Talent Federation, and of course, Professor Owen Ngume, seated on my immediate right. He is the Dean at the School of Education, Arts and Social Sciences at the ZTech University. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight, and it is a privilege having you on set, KTN News Hour. Let me begin with Machari. You are a JSS teacher. Since the, I don't want to say promulgation or the since the implementation of the JSS, do you think the country was ready for this new system?
According to my thinking, the country was ready for JSS, but the implementation, the change that has happened to JSS is the implementation. The people who have been given the mandate to implement the whole process, they have changed everything, now making it very difficult to suit. Mm-hmm. That's why we are having so many challenges today. This mess is because of implementation, but not the original program. Because when you look at the original framework of JSS, it is very clear what was supposed to be done and when. But now the new implementation, they're happening just immediate. You just wake up one day, you hear something different. This abruptness of changes, they are now making our children to suffer. And we are wasting the whole generation. I know the government doesn't want to accept, but that is the fact. We are wasting the whole generation. I'm a teacher in that class. How can you now facilitate without the equipment? Is that possible? You walk to class, you don't have the material, and you are being told to facilitate. That one is not possible, actually.
And Professor Obora, you know, Omachari, being a JSS teacher, is talking about some of the changes that were brought. And some of these changes that were brought to the JSS, the junior secondary school, it was brought by the education work, task force that was put in place by the president. Do you think it was necessary for the government to bring those changes?
Brenda, if you have a patient that you've been buying medication from off the shelf in pharmacies, taken to local hospitals, and the sickness doesn't seem to go away, what do? If you bought a car that is incessantly having problems, what do? The answer lies in that. You ought to know that you have to find an expert doctor, and that doctor will do a diagnosis. I am sitting here, not for the first time, but I'm telling you, I am one of the architects of what became the CBC. Anybody watching me in Kenya knows Professor Bora and the DALC, where most of the things were borrowed from the wrong way. Everyone knows that.
You're saying most of the things are borrowed?
From DALC.
Okay.
Yes, and I'll explain very briefly. At the very beginning, we had an objective. The objectives were very simple. We wanted to infuse quality matrices in the learning system. That was the only thing we needed most. Joined with that, we wanted to make sure that when we have that quality, the Europeans, instead of our children going the numbers there, can now also come and bring up that investment. I was reading recently, Canada has so many foreign students that they're cutting down the number. They have enough. What's wrong with us? Now that is the broad bedrock foundation. For us to infuse quality matrices in the learning system, I need you two guys to understand this background. We looked at this is an African country. For those of us who are educationists, particularly me, an expert in curriculum construction, I know there are 3 tenets of a curriculum. One, it must be simple. So simple, Brenda, that a granny taking care of a child in Tana River has the hang of what's going on in school.
All right.
I can tell you that no CBC. The teachers do not know it. One of them is speaking here.
So what you're saying that, Prof, what you're telling us is that what is being channeled out in classes is not the original CBC of what it was meant to be.
I want you to listen more, because we expected these things to come out. You know, we can talk the whole night about this CBC at this problem. But you see, if your car has a problem, you got to do diagnosis, and that's why I'm taking you, so that you understand where the problem is. They need to just go back there. Now, so simple that the granny must understand too. It must be affordable. Nothing. We live most of us below $1 a day. These realities. He's talking about what is 17,000. These are things we considered. And this is not crucial now. Now listen to this one. It must be futuristic. That the Minister for Education in the Republic of Kenya, if you take to him your 6-year-old son or daughter, he should have the capacity to tell you, I know in 20, 30 years' time, your child will be an engineer, will be a doctor, will be a footballer. And I am going to assemble resources to just make sure your child lives to that potential that I know. Now that required something else. And we said, before any child joins any learning system, we have to do a diagnosis and confirm in 20, 30 years' time, this is going to be the child, and therefore we take this path. I'll tell you more about it. But we disagreed at KIE. You don't know this. There was a disagreement. And there was nothing called CBC in the beginning. It's a lie. When opportunities came between, and you need to know, in this ministry called education, there's a problem. There are the people who are connected to the powers to be.
So, Prof, before I move to Professor Ngumi, you're saying that CBC was not the original child for learners here in Kenya. So what was the original child?
Let me tell you even more so that you understand it. There was nothing like removing the 844, just to make you know that. There was no plan like that. Academics has its own place. You can do semantics every day, 6, I don't know what, 8, whatever. What are you doing? You're doing zero work.
All right.
Academics has its place. This guy has been trained for academics, and he has his own value. I remind you, the objective was to infuse quality matrices. Now we need to concentrate there.
All right.
What were the quality matrices, and where were they left? No wonder. Now we're talking this because the bus left without the engine.
All right.
What do you expect?
The bus left without the engine. And Prof Ngumi, I mean, what Prof is Obora is raising is very wanting in terms of how we implemented this curriculum, because he's saying the original child was not CBC, what they had sat down to discuss and to implement. Then now CBC was sort of like sneaked in, and then now we are seeing more changes brought. Then now we are seeing what Wamachari, a JSS teacher, is raising. So clearly it boils down to the fact that we were not ready. And there's a party that is not being sincere with parents.
Okay, first of all, I must appreciate having Prof on board, because having been one of the people who were in the initial stages of the reform, he brings in a lot of insights into this discussion. My own research about CBC, and I have really tried to study the model of Finland, where we are told CBC was borrowed from. My initial impression of this kind of system is that it is very good, CBC. But it has to be implemented in the right way. Finland is a first world country. The budget for education alone in Finland can run this country for several years. And therefore, we needed to have a chest of resources to be able to effectively implement CBC. We also needed to take some time to build the infrastructure, to use those resources that we have set aside to build the necessary infrastructure in our schools. We also needed to have a comprehensive training of our teachers to completely change their mindset from what was there before.
The 844.
Yes, to CBC, if we were to implement it the way Finland has done it.
All right.
Unfortunately, we did not do so. And therefore, what is happening is that we are having a system that we have rolled out in our education system. The teachers, as you have heard the confession from Warimu here, are not prepared for it. The schools themselves, the infrastructure and the mindset has not been changed at all. And therefore, I think to answer your question, we were not ready.
We were not ready.
What we are trying to do now is to play some kind of catch-up. And this catch-up is not good for us because it means that everybody is trying to implement the system the way they understand it, and not from a standard criteria or a standard point of view.
All right.
Brenda, if you could allow me to add value to what you say.
Yeah, in a minute, then I get to Wamachari. Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that we needed to dissect here, what is competence? Can you teach competence? You know, competence is an outcome. It is out of what you do that you emerge with competence. Strange enough, embarrassing enough, my country is teaching competence. Strange, just very strange. Let me remind you, I have never seen on this earth a government project in education where you go to implement, then you remember you're not trained teachers. It's only happens in Kenya, where you go to implement and you don't remember where you should have put junior secondary school.
Initially, it was supposed to be
strange.
in secondary schools, where now it's domiciled.
And I'm telling you another one they started the other day. Recognition of prior learning. My God. And the cabinet sat down today. The year is 2024. We are setting policies for recognition of prior learning. Where they're living. Do they know where the world is with AI? Today, 3D optical sensing technology enables me to know, Brenda, if you are 26 today, it can tell me what you could be when you are 6. That's not RPL. Today, you can't take your child to class without knowing what your child will be 20 years to come. I am adding value to that because these were the things that were not addressed, hence what we discussed. So if you saw a teacher in a primary, in I don't know where, in Luya and at Walambiwa let cook bring chicken, and then they were trying to slaughter the chicken when it is no wonder because the teachers just didn't have the hang of it.
All right.
That's how dangerous it is.
All right. So, Wamachari, as you're speaking, I want you just to paint for us a picture of the sort of challenges that you are facing in class, because you are a secondary school teacher. Then now you are taken from secondary to now the junior secondary school.
Okay. In that situation, we have so many challenges. Being a secondary school teacher, I understand my worth. I know what I went to school for. Now I've been taken to the primary school environment, which I have not rejected, I accepted. But now, the situation in the primary school is something different. You enter primary school, you are later written on very clearly junior secondary school. But when you arrive there, you meet a head teacher who is now asking you, in fact forcing you, not even asking you, threatening you that I don't know who will be writing, I don't know which report. So you are being forced to go and even facilitate for grade 1, being told a teacher is a teacher. Now, if a teacher is a teacher, why did they now specify that we have the P1 teachers for primary, we have the diploma teachers? If a teacher is a teacher, why is it that a doctor cannot perform the role of a nurse, or a nurse performing the role of a doctor? These things, we need to have people of goodwill to implement it. It can be domiciled in the primary school, but let it run as a school on its own. It will succeed. Let the government facilitate the material. And when you're facilitating, there's something also interesting. You give us a new curriculum to roll out, then you are paying us, not even paying us. You are suffocating us, because actually the truth remains, we people, we have been killed. We are just dead. The intern teachers, we are dead. We are not living. Tell me how, like for example for me, I'm having white hair on my head, meaning I'm already old enough. I have a family. I have 3 kids, 17,000. How can I now calculate my clothes, my children to go to school? I'm already stressed. I'm depressed.
So approximately how much would you want the government to pay JSS intern teachers?
Not even intern teachers. Now the problem comes in. Where is an intern originating in education? Because what I know, TSC only employs qualified teachers. TSC does not train. So that one is not there. Internship actually, from the first point, it is illegal. You can't engage a trained teacher as an intern. This is a qualified teacher registered, because I was engaged as an intern. Then someone who graduated several years after he had graduated was engaged on permanent and pensionable. So which criteria did the government use?
All right.
These are the challenges we are facing. We are stressed, depressed, underpaid, killed. Our future is stagnant.
All right. And just before I bring in Professor Ngumi, I'd just like to pick your mind on this, Wamachari. You have actually painted for us the sort of challenges that the JSS teachers are facing. But when the initial, and it's good we have Professor Obara here, who's one of the brains behind, you know, the, can I call it, allow me to call it CBC, because that is what was channeled out to the country.
Oh, correct.
Yeah. It's good we have Prof here who has the in-depth, you know, information about what was supposed to be channeled out. But the government was talking about trainer of trainees. So as you're sitting here, Wamachari, were you a trainer of trainees? What were you trained before by the government, then you became a trainer of trainees, or you were also trained by someone who's trained by the government?
Actually, we were engaged. Then after being engaged is where now we are being taken for a week to be trained. But now, how can you train someone for 1 week to roll out a curriculum? And in that training, you are training something that we know, because you are training us how to prepare our documents, and we know. We already trained in the university for that. It will be very clear that we need to have a clear mindset. Well, from the beginning, when it was decided that it will be domiciled in the secondary school, it was very easy, because we have teachers who have been trained in specific learning areas. Now, when we come to the primary school environment, I'm a history CRE teacher. I enter a primary school where there's no any other teacher. Now I'm being forced to teach mathematics, to teach science. Where did I learn those things?
All right. So you're being diverted. Yeah. And Ngumi, Wamachari brings in a very important point of you being told, do something that you've not trained on. So it begs the quality of education that's being channeled out at the JSS level. Yet these are the same people who will be coming to the institutions of higher learning.
Okay. If we have to be candidly truthful with one another, there is a reason why a teacher specializes to teach 2 subjects. I, for one, I trained as a teacher to begin with, a mathematics and chemistry teacher. If you asked me to teach geography today, I would have a lot of difficulties, because I would be at the level of the students I'm teaching.
Okay.
But if you asked me to teach mathematics and chemistry, for which I trained, even now after almost 20 years in the university, I would have very little effort to put to be able to become a competent teacher back in secondary school where I began my teaching career. I think it is a disservice, and I think it is even ridiculous to be asked to teach a subject that you did not train for. And that goes back to what where we began. We were not prepared for this curriculum, because if we were, we would have enough teachers to teach all the subjects areas in our junior secondary school. So if indeed that is what is happening, that one teacher is being asked to teach the whole cross-section of subjects that they did not learn in university or a teacher training college where they went, then I think I can confidently say then there is no teaching going on.
There's no teaching
and
going
if
on.
there is no teaching, I was told by one of my professors who trained me, if there is no teaching, then there is no learning.
So are you worried, you know, from Professor Ngumi, from what you're saying, then you are worried about the people who will be channeled to your institutions of higher learning?
I am extremely worried. I am extremely worried that we are going to have students come to university who cannot handle university curriculum. As we speak now, we are saying, Mwalimu is confessing that what they are doing in the JSS, they are ill training or teaching our learners, and therefore those learners will not be prepared for senior school.
All right.
Senior secondary school. I think the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms changed the name from senior secondary to senior school. So if the foundation is bad, this building, the reason why we are here on top of this building, and many others and many other activities going on, including systemic activities towards the center of the earth, and the building is not coming down, is because it had a good foundation.
All right.
Now we are saying the teachers who are in junior secondary are saying we have no capacity to teach these students, yet we have been forced to teach them.
All right.
Therefore, what will they be when they go to senior school? And if they continue like that, what will they be by the time they get to university?
All right.
I think me and my colleague here, Professor, we have absolutely enough reasons to worry.
You have enough reasons to worry. And Professor Bora, you know, the reason as to why we have Oliver Omachari here is because he's a JSS teacher. He's actually telling us the reality on the ground. Even as of last year, before the year ended, they were addressing the media. This is what we want the government to address. This is what our concerns are. But from the picture that is painted for us, it's either the government is giving a deaf ear to their concerns, or is it that the government is, you know, saying we need more funds to implement this? Because I'm just wondering, some of the schools that, you know, just from the story that my colleague Elvis Kosgei has given us to open up this discussion, you look at schools in rural areas and school in urban areas, the sort of quality of education is apart. In terms of even what Omachari was talking about, facilities.
We consider that at the very beginning, but I want to paint you one small picture, you see what we meant, so that you see their problem. Last year in Eldoret, I was installing one of the human anthropobiometric kits. This is in the 3D optical sensing technology, which at our headquarters we had donated to Africa. One of them I put in Eldoret. This is a kit that is able to predict careers 20, 30 years in advance under human metric sciences. We don't want you to go through all those details. One child was brought that had problems in eating. Mother went to all hospitals. They concluded the child had an attitude problem, had to be forced to eat. I almost bought into it until something convinced me, many just try. When that occurred, we realized during prolonged labor, it created what I call signal shafts. That means there was a skewed gangali, but it affected the tongue, meaning the child had got very sharp taste buds. But for you, the long story short, today, that child is a wine, coffee, beer taster. You know what that means? Before you make beer, wine, coffee in bulk, you got to get the special tasters. They confirm to the brew, but you leave your 1M there in that 15 minutes. That's their life. That's what's going to build them, okay? That's one. Another one, recently, and you carry that story here in KTN, the boy called Antoine, the one joining Manchester Football Club.
Yes, yes.
The mother brought, they were arguing between the boy going to A level and the boy doing football. So we did an assessment, and we found the metric values, which the football clubs understand, even FIFA. And when we gave the report, the boy is immediately accepted, and clubs are fighting for him. But he's joining Manchester International Football Academy. Now I want you to understand something from there. This is part of what we thought, but now we want you to connect it to CBC. If you had such a child, which syllabus or curriculum shall we use in Kenya?
The child will be actually, can I say?
This is the problem with the people who don't understand the origin of something, and they come with this fraud because they're closest to the president. They think they'll steal an idea, massage it, and they left Uhuru with the slogans. Ukiona mtoto unaforce afanye medicine, akiona hata damu anasirai tu. They went with the slogans to convince the bosses. Sadly, again, and I'm appealing to my President Ruto. He's a Chiromite like me. We're Chiromites. Chiromites don't just do things. I wrote to him and I told him there was absolutely no reason to create that task force. You didn't need it.
So you are not in agreement, Prof,
Yeah.
with the changes that this the education task force put in place?
Look, if it was meaningful, President gets the report at State House. He says, good, we implement. 1 week later, everything boiling. TSC up in arms. I don't know what and what. Oh, what this? Hey, which kind of government is that? How? You should understand. If there was something in it, the results are speaking something else.
Right.
Just like the original thing they call CBC, which we knew was a vehicle going without an engine. So finally it lands into some ocean. And then you get a minister also swimming in ocean without a destination. What do you expect? Remember the song.
All right.
We do have a problem, and now you want to think, how do we solve it? Now we're here. Let me tell you, and for anybody who knows what they do in Kenya, one, they might put their feet down, and parents must be up in arms. You cannot violate the rights of children to that extent. You do not violate the rights of parents to that extent. Do not violate the rights of teachers to that extent and expect it to be normal. No way. Two, let's accept academics has its lane. When you talk competence, you are touching on human metric values known as talent. And these are just symptoms. Competence, interest, passion are indicators that you do have certain metric values that must be diagnosed and confirmed. This, they do not understand. They are setting up hospitals without diagnostic wings.
All right.
Everyone kill a dawa, everybody kill injection.
Everyone kill a dawa, everybody kill
injection.
Killer injection.
Yes, that's where Kenya is in the education system.
All right. And Omachari, the train has already left the station.
Yes.
And it looks like there's no turning back.
Yes.
You have raised concerns, but according to some of your colleagues, it's like the government has put a deaf ear on your concerns. So what is the way forward?
Actually, it's very easy. According to my understanding, this thing actually is very simple. If you want to implement, or let me use an example for a dog. You have a dog at your home. Then this dog is always monitoring your chicken. Then you decide that now you are not feeding your dog. What will your dog do? It will consume the your chicken. But these things, what I'm talking about is the intention. The government needs to get people of good intention to implement what was there in the origin. In
what Professor Obura is talking about.
Yeah, but also in the senior secondary school, they constructed classes under Professor Magoha. They constructed classes to absorb the junior secondary school. Now, what changed? Which miracle happened just one night and they told us, now we are going to primary school.
We are going to domicile.
Yeah. Now, these miracles that are taking place, I think whoever is inciting the miracles should go back, sleep, wake up in sober mind, then carry this JSS back to where it's supposed to be. It will be taken to senior secondary school because there we have teachers who have specialized in different areas. It will be handled easily. Then pay these teachers something that actually a teacher can also feel, I can study to facilitate because I'm being paid. Now, how can I go and study when my children are hungry? I come from school, I go to be a security guard somewhere so that I can feed my family. When will I concentrate? It's not possible. So let us, the government need actually to do the right thing. Take JSS where it's supposed to be, because we have facilities, we have labs there, we have the equipment, we have human resource there, then pay teachers the way they're supposed to be paid. You cannot pay a graduate 17,000, then you walk everywhere shouting that you have employed a graduate. From where? 56,000 teachers employed. You see, we are the people on the ground. Brenda, are you telling me that you can convince my daughter more than the way I can talk to my daughter? That's what actually the government is doing. Telling the whole world, we have 56,000 teachers employed. When you have engaged these teachers, in fact, when you have killed 46,000 of them, because for us, we are dead. Brenda, today I cannot even walk to a shop to purchase a bread. I can't. How?
So for you, if you're enumerated well, JSS is no longer domiciled in primary schools and taken to the secondary schools, that environment, then this will work.
It will work because we have enough resources there. Then the implementation, the government need also to understand the cost of JSS. We cannot say that we don't want expenses when JSS itself, it's already expensive. They have made it very expensive, even for parents.
All right. And Professor Ngumi, the reason as to why I asked him that question, it brings that whole debate that people are always having, and I'd like to pick your mind on this. I think it's something that probably you've had it and it's not new. This whole debate of, since all schools are not the same, private schools are more advantageous, they have all the resources. Parents are ready to pay for that, for their kids to get quality education. Public schools, some are lucky, some are not, especially those in the arid and semi-arid areas and in the interior parts of this country, not to have the facilities. But then at the end of the term, they're all examined equally. Same exam for, allow me to call it, CBC. Yet, the quality of education that I was getting compared to the school, the private school and the school in urban, the public school that was privileged to have those resources, is not the same. So should we not, as a country, should we look at a way of probably examining schools on a case-by-case basis?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, allow me to correct you a bit. Not all schools in urban areas are of high standard. We have schools in the slums, some of them that are Mabati, and so on. We also have some schools in rural areas which are very well built and with facilities, both private and public. So let's not look at it from an urban versus rural. Let us look at schools generally. Now, having said that, it is true that we have had a lot of iniquity in the way we deliver education to our learners. And I say this because you go to a school, a public school, and you find that public school, because of the history, we first of all, the mistake that we first made from the very beginning is to categorize schools, that this is a national school, this is an extra county school, this is a county school, a sub-county school.
Yeah.
That was our first mistake. Because the moment you put a category, it is just like a car. If you are told that this is a supercar, and this one is just a car, you expect the two to be different. The supercar, by the descriptor, the word super means it must have better, either safety, comfort, whatever, as compared to this one that is just a car. So if you call a school a national school, then you put the national psyche, and when I say the national psyche, I'm talking about the attitude of the entire government and public system to view that school as a superior school. So what happens is that even when the ministry is allocating resources, it will allocate that school more money than other schools. So we have a school that has 5 laboratories. We have a school where students can be able to sleep 2 in a cubicle. In the same country, and in fact, a walking distance, you find another school that used to be called Harambee schools the other day. Now they are called CDF schools. They have started as an offshoot of a primary school, and they have taken 2 classrooms that are now disused, maybe because of low population, and they have painted it and they have called it a secondary school. No laboratory, no library in that school, no hall for students even to assemble. They assemble in an open ground. No teachers' houses, even the head teacher, the principal, in spite of a rule that a principal must sleep in school, the school doesn't even have a house. So it's practically not possible for the principal to sleep there. So these 2 schools, you expect learners to go for 4 years. The ones who don't have a laboratory have never been to a chemistry lab, to a physics lab, to a biology lab. And then you give them the same exam as this national school where a student went to a well-equipped chemistry lab the first week of schooling. And you expect them to perform the same way. It is not possible.
It's not possible.
So we have had that inequality with regard to how we have categorized schools and how we have funded schools. I told you that I have been studying the Finnish model. All schools there are the same.
All right.
You go to school A, it has the same facilities as school Z.
All right.
So until and unless we are willing to pump in enough resources to make that village school, that school in the slums, to be the same level as the national school, we can never say that we are offering equal education to our learners.
All right. And you know, Prof, when you're saying that what was channeled, let me use the word was because the train has already left the station, is not the original plan.
Yes.
For CBC.
Correct.
Can we go back? Are we able to undo what has been done?
No. Even whatever they did had the summative impact is the same. If you hear the teachers, they're teaching, they're talking subjects. That's not competence. Let's just accept those are fraud. Let me tell you, for what you hear happening did not require a change of curriculum.
The curriculum.
At all. If it was to reduce number of subjects, if it was to place this year's, if it was just minor things, it only required a small policy decision from Jogo House.
So allow me to cut you short, Prof. Just allow me to cut you short.
Yes.
Let me just pick your mind.
Yes.
So it was not CBC 633. So what was it?
No. We didn't even have those kind of things.
So what was it?
I have said before, we are only adding quality matrices to the learning system.
Okay.
You could have a GCSE with this system, 844 with this system, baccalaureate with its own system. They're all good in their own ways.
Okay.
And they give pathways and options. They're fine for academics. But there are those who learn the whole day but can't write an exam, but very brilliant. Do you know those people? How would we care? Have you seen people on exam day, things disappear? How do you deal with them? These are the things we are thinking about. We were not interested in changing 844 or any other system. That was not on the table. I don't know why they changed those things somewhere. Because their own mind was change a curriculum. Because when you change a curriculum, the consultants will come, pay money. We're writing new curriculum. The book publishers will come and change cover pages. There's no new maths. There's no new science.
Right.
Trust me, there's nothing new. But you know what? Take the money which is spent for something that did not require to bring all this hula baloo. It was completely necessary. And let me rest this, what he's saying. Let me be clear to you, my brother. Kenya, the dollar is heading to 200. Don't even think that Kenya will reach near Finland.
All right.
Let's be, and I told you, we understood. It must be simple. It must be economically viable and futuristic. I gave you the 3 tenets of what we talked about. One of them was, we know this is Africa. They live below $1 a day. So the system must be within that. Because if you try to imagine, you'll be like Canada or like Finland, economically, it won't.
All right.
2, you talked about the young man in, say, Lokichogio, being expected to do the exam with another young man from Makini. You understand? This, and the past the same way. This is the reason why we need a diagnosis. And think the medical. Therefore, we needed to see schools as learning clinics. What is a clinic? There is the best in that. There is the best in that. Diagnosis, because at the moment it's a waste. We have a school struggling to invest resources for sciences and all that, and attracting many students, of which, out of a possible 150, only 30 will be scientists.
30 will be.
Imagine if I got the Lokichogio one by diagnosis and said, because I know this young man is 6 years, but I've seen his potential in science. You Google the internet, Estokade, at 10 years, had smashed financial mathematics at the British Open University. Right now, Laurent Simon from Amsterdam is in Harvard, age 9, doing aeronautical engineering. In Kenya, a child of 9 years, where supposed that child to be? How about if the child has that capacity? This is why we said we wanted to infuse quality matrices. Do not change anything. So now, what should we really do? Call 844 CBC. Please, gentlemen who always do this game, I know when the regime changes, this is what they do. I have been there, I know it.
Call 844 CBC.
Because now they'll check, no, this was the bad one, change this, and then we start spending a lot of money. Let the teachers teach what they know and they've been trained for. Let the systems remain fairly as they are without any much change. Let academics take this course, and then we go back to the engine. The quality matrices. Things will work the same.
All right. So, gentlemen, we need to end this conversation in the next, like, 3 minutes. So I'll need, time really goes fast, Professor Ngumi. And we started exactly at 10. So I'll give a minute to each one of us to give our closing remarks. Wamachari, you've raised your concern. You've told us, you've painted for us a picture of what is happening. You've used the media to raise your concern. Have you sought an audience with the Ministry of Education or your employer, that is the Teacher Service Commission?
Okay, thank you for this chance. Actually, we've done everything within our power with those small things that we have. We have tried to get these officials to sit with them on the same table, to tell them the truth, what should be done and when. But they have always shut their doors. We have never been able to be given even a single minute audience with the officials. Now, even the presidential the presidential task force, where were they selected from? You take a principal to go and represent a JSS intern teacher. Now, how is a principal understanding that lifestyle of someone being paid 17,000 when the principal himself or herself is being paid 200,000? They don't match. Let them do the right thing. And my closing remark actually is to simply request the government and the ministry to do the right thing. Employ teachers the way supposed to be employed. Let us be employed on permanent and pensionable. We feel secure. Then take this junior secondary school back to senior, back to secondary school where it was originally supposed to be located. There we have enough resources. These learners, actually, they will benefit. But if things remain like this because people have decided they want to force issues, then we are wasting a generation, and it will come to happen. And before I finish, there's something that the extension of the contract, they said if you want, you can extend, or if you want, you cannot extend. But we are having several complaints. Teachers who decided not to extend, they have been deleted permanently. Even I have evidence here on my phone. The text message that they have been deleted from the system permanently. Now, if you said it's optional, why are you deleting this teacher permanently? If it's optional, it means I can choose to work for you, or I reject it.
All right, all right. Professor Ngumi, your closing remarks to the government in a minute.
When we have a disaster happen in the country, we come together and deal with it as a nation. I think we have to recognize that we are not headed in the right direction, and the train that you said has left the station will derail, and if it derails, we'll expect casualties. The train itself will become destroyed, and the people it is carrying, who are our children, will actually be casualties. When we have a situation like this, I think I challenge the leadership of the country that if they really care about the lives of our young ones who are in this education system, there should be time to retreat and rethink. There is nothing impossible. Like a professor said here, we can change the name of a system, but the content remains the same. And Professor Kiama Getahi, VC of University of Nairobi, said the same at the beginning, that when the students come to university, for instance, in my case, the definition of psychology will still remain the same definition. I can paraphrase it, but it still remains the same. The heart will still continue to have the same ventricles that it has. So a doctor who is learning anatomy in first year must be taught what it is called.
All right.
It's not that now because we have CBC, it is going to change. And therefore, we must talk as a nation, and our leaders need to recognize that we are headed in the wrong direction. And we come back and retrace our steps. It is not too late.
It's not too late.
It is not too late to call experts, to have a national conversation and decide on the way forward.
All right. All
yes.
Right. Professor Bora, you know, my question would be, and the question in the minds of Kenyans, because I'm getting some of these questions here on a social media platform, is you saying this is not the original. In a minute as you close, goodness, even that, let me just put my question forth to you very quickly. The question is, you're saying this is not the original concept of what was there before. When your team realized that at the KICD, did you have a sit down with the government and tell them this is not the original plan that we had? Can we go back to the original plan?
You want to know the truth? Professor Douglas Diambo set up a committee. The people who had to work with me told me, I trained them, they will present it on my behalf. I remain back as a consultant. In other words, the doctor was told to remain behind, train others to be the doctors. Do you understand?
Yeah, I get your point.
I got angry, I left. Several times Professor Douglas Diambo came. I have a tree called Professor Douglas Diambo in Kisumu for that reason. I respect them, say he tried. The people who refused what these other fellows did, we broke up. It's not like we had a chance. Go find where Musa Ondunda is. If I want to mention one, what really took place? We broke up. The others who saw an opportunity called money took off, and the result is what we are talking today. And we knew it would not work. Now let me give my closing remarks, and I'm talking to the President of the Republic of Kenya. This originally was a problem, Your Excellency. Even with the task force that you brought in, it became a crisis. The next stage is going to be called catastrophe.
All right.
That requires you to listen to this.
All right.
If you're a parent thinking of taking your child to any learning system today in Kenya, and you have not diagnosed and known the true potential of your child, you are not very different from anyone investing in a business you have no idea about, and you cannot anticipate results. And finally, if you are the government of the Republic of Kenya,
the minute is over.
and you are investing your bursaries and everything into learning systems, and you do not know the true potential of those learners, you are not very different from a doctor giving injection to patients without any diagnosis.
All right.
Sorry.
All right, Professor Humphrey Obora, CEO World Talent Federation, and of course Asante Oliver Wamachari, who is the Deputy Chair of JSS Intern Teachers National, and of course Professor Owen Gumi, the Dean at School of Education, Arts and Social Sciences, ZTech University. My name is Brenda Zadaradido. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. Brilliant minds on my set tonight. I don't take that for granted. Asanteni sana, and have a brilliant week ahead. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. God bless to the men and the women behind the scene who've made this production a success. Good night, God bless, and enjoy the rest of your viewing, of course, when you get home.